Yo, what up, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, Will. We are diving back into the world of Gotham, into the mind of Matt Reeves, getting to watch, I would say, an Emmy nominated performance from Christina Milioti. That's right, better late than never. We're getting into The Penguin, episode 4, the latest episode from this past Sunday. And man, I had to get to this episode more importantly than ever. A lot of the times, if I get a little bit busy or whatever, I might put like an episode 4 with an episode 5, but for this one I had to give it its just due. I had to give it its own time in the freaking limelight because this episode was fucking phenomenal, man. We're not beating around the bush, you know what I'm saying? We're getting right into it. This episode was phenomenal, and essentially it gives you the entire background and backstory and context for Christina Milioti's character of Sofia Falcone and what she was like before she went to Arkham for the 10 years, what happened during that moment, and what was the actual hangman incident, how she was framed, the whole 9 yards was broken down for us. And we got to see not the whole entire 10 years of her in Arkham, but you got to see a lot of the lead up to turn her into the mentally unstable person that she is now, and that what led her to a decision at the end of the episode when she pulled a full-on Michael Corleone and killed off the entire family minus John Vitti, man. It's absolutely insane. It's crazy in the best way possible. And I love it. And it was like in the complete middle portion, like second act of the episode during the Arkham flashback when she was actually in the asylum, it all felt like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and like and that one time travel monkeys movie with Brad Pitt and Bruce Willis from the 90s. It totally gave me those vibes and had its own like distinct flavor from the Batman with Matt Reeves and everything the team's been doing on that film and the Penguin. All that just kind of blended together in the perfect way. And like I said, and it's been said all across the internet for the past few days since this episode dropped, but Christina Milioti's Kristen Milioti, my bad, performance as the character of Sofia Falcone, especially in this episode, is so nuanced from when you get into her being her younger self, trying to make a foundation to help women with with mental health issues and things like that. Back when Oz was her driver 10 plus years ago or whatever. You can see the complete change in Sophia being a much more kind of still like a little more soft spoken, you know what I'm saying? And a little bit more pure in a sense, a little bit more innocent than she is these days, especially with what she does at the end of the episode, right? So you get to see all these things going on, and you get to see her interactions with Oz and how she's not as patronizing, not nearly as patronizing and as offensive to him as other people. She actually does I feel like Oz a little bit and has some love for the guy, you know what I'm saying? And not in a romantic sense, but just as a colleague and someone that works for her family and is loyal to the family and things like that, getting her around, looking out for her, making sure she gets home in one piece and everything like that. So I think there is a little bit more camaraderie and respect between Oz and Sophia, and getting to see the brief things you do with Oz in this episode and the things they do with the makeup, like giving him more hair, giving him like a little bit of a different demeanor in the way that Colin Farrell's portraying the character before he becomes kind of the made man that he is now, you know what I'm saying? And getting to see a little bit less of the bravado side of the Penguin and kind of more of the patheticness that some people would put on his character, and some things that the other characters like Alberto and John Vitti and all these people have kind of said about the Penguin. And you can see back in the day when he wasn't that made man, where he had to kind of, tread lightly and kind of be liked by everyone, and couldn't really play the manipulations and be the scum that he's kind of become now in the present, right? So I love how you even get to see an evolution of Oz's character in this episode, along with Sofia Falcone, because they're really the heart of the show, obviously, with it being called the Penguin and her being kind of the co-lead of the series. And to me, at first, I was a little bit taken off guard with that, but I've actually grown to love it and love it even more for that. You could even make your own spinoff with her and have Oz in the backdrop too, or have her be a main presence in the Batman too, which I'm really crossing my fingers for. And the Penguin as well. I don't know if they're both going to make it out of this, but I hope they do. And we get to see both of them playing a really huge a role or some kind of a supporting role in the Batman part 2. But we'll see what happens with that. And you can't go into this episode and not talk about Mark Strong's performance as the younger version of oh my gosh, of Carmine Falcone. Sorry guys, had a brain fart there. But obviously the character was played by John Turturro in the Batman film, but he wasn't available due to scheduling, working on another show or movie, something like that. from what I read. So they had to get someone else, and they cast the DC freaking comic or the DC film and TV freaking legend himself, Mark Strong, who's like the DC MVP, man, all the way from Green Lantern in 2010 to now. He's definitely had quite the step up. He was the villain, Dr. Savannah, in Shazam as well. He was in Kingsman. He's been in a lot of comic book stuff. So always had a lot of love for Mark Strong, and he's just a phenomenal performer and does a great job here as Carmine Falcone. And honestly, I might even prefer his performance just a little bit. It's a little more the traditional mobster, but I really dig what he's doing with it, the voice and everything like that, and that real intimidating kind of presence that he brings to his roles and his villains when they're written correctly. He really brings through here. And Shazam, I thought he really brought some menace into that for the more lighthearted tone that the film was, but for something dark and something gritty like this, he really brought his A game in that regard. And it was just such a captivating villain to watch. And his interactions with Sofia Falcone, with his daughter, is just so like fucked up and manipulative and everything like that. So he really played into a lot of the elements that John Turturro was bringing to the character. But I like that he doesn't play it with so much joy, almost in a sense. You know what I'm saying? A little more menace to his performance, and I really dig it. And I think the chemistry with him and CHRISTIN Milioti was really strong too. So I'm really interested to see if there's going to be more scenes in the future with that, or if so we'll see, because Carmine Falcone. Well, I forget actually, because Carmine Falcone is dead. I don't know how I could forget that. The Riddler fucking sniped his ass in the Batman. So then we get into the whole Arkham thing and just getting to see how she gets fucked over and framed, and then using mental illness as kind of like an angle to really go at her with is just a brilliant but fucked up way to do it. And her getting locked up in the Arkham was the worst thing that can happen to her, because she was in there for 6 months at first. It was supposed to get a trial and everything, but obviously she got fucked over. The main doctor that was working doing the shock therapy and doing all that fucked up stuff to Sofia was the one that wrote the court order, or wrote the letter to the court stating that she was crazy and could not get out and she was a danger. So the judge agreed. She gets no trial. She's locked up. She's fucked over, and she was stuck in Arkham for 10 years. And getting to see her interactions with the inmates and getting to see the way that she slowly starts to mentally deteriorate as the days and the months and the years go on, it's truly heartbreaking, man. And like I said, this whole element of Sofia Falcone's character from the beginning of the episode to the second act right here is so well done. And just the way that you can empathize and sympathize with her situation really comes down to the way that she's playing it, man. So it's just phenomenal work, and getting to see the slow descent into madness that Arkham's going to do to any character, but especially Sofia Falcone. When you see her get the crazy eyes, it's freaking awesome, man. It's like this. It's like that Phase 1 MCU like origin story, but for a villain, and I love it. And we need to get more of this stuff in these Marvel, DC, and Star Wars and all that. Especially you, Star Wars, get some balls, man. But it's just phenomenal stuff, man. And then getting to the end of the episode, obviously, with her having this big speech when she interrupts Luca when he's trying to give a speech for the family. She just walks in this bright yellow dress, looking good, by the way, and coming in and interrupting everybody and just having this weird menace and presence about her. And then she just starts banging on the glass with her spoon or fork or whatever, and then interrupts and makes her big final goodbye to them, unbeknownst to them at the time, making a big old speech about how she's going to leave and get a fresh start and start a new life, and how she fucking hates all of them for the way that they fucked her over. And she's aware that they fucked her over, and she knows it. And she's like, and I know you fuckers did this shit, and y'all are a piece of shit for doing that. And then you get the whole sequence with the old school music with her, or actually she walks her niece out into the greenhouse and tells her to go to sleep, and they sleep out there for a while. But Sofia wakes up at the crack of dawn and goes out into the place and tells her niece, Ruby, I believe is her name, if I'm remembering correctly, to stay asleep. And then she goes and gets a gas mask, walks through the house, because she gassed these motherfuckers out and killed every member of the family minus John Vitti, because obviously she's trying to use Vitti to get that deal with the triads in order to get the Bliss out there, so she could be the one running the streets and take out Oz once and for all for him killing her brother. And the way that that's all revealed in the beginning of the episode, with the whole perspective of or from Sophia's perspective of the events that took place at the end of episode 3, when the Penguin pretty much sells her out, leaves her behind when Vic comes in to save the day last minute by crashing Oz's car into the freaking Maroni um uh um lackeys or whatever. But the whole thing that we missed was the lady that I think is Maroni's wife, I think. So she's running the business right now. She goes and pretty much just rats out Penguin and everything he's been doing, or Oz, I should say. My bad, Oz. Don't come and kill my ass. But the whole thing with Oz and the way that he's been selling out the Falcons in order to work for the Maronis, and he's playing both sides against each other, and the fact that he killed her brother. And she even says that she thought Sofia had the brother killed in order to take over the business, but realizes that she didn't even know and knows that's going to fuck over Penguin because now he has to run from both families. And now all he has in the world is the working girls that he works with and Vic. That's it. No one else is going to be on Oz's side throughout the rest of the series. So for these last 4 episodes or whatever, it's going to be insane seeing how the fuck Oz is going to get out of this situation. It's just him and Vic against the world now. So how are they going to come through on the other side of this thing? Are they going to be able to take out both families? Is the Falcons going to take out the Maronis, and then it's going to be Maronis versus Oz for season 2 or Batman Part 2? I don't know. But just the way this leaves off with fucking Sofia pulling the ultimate power move and ultimate villain move by killing off everybody, like how Michael Corleone killed off the 5 families in Godfather 2, if I'm remembering correctly. Crazy shit, man. So, or how I've heard. I haven't even watched the movie, but obviously it's a 50-year-old movie, so spoilers are everywhere. So, no spoiler warning for you. If you haven't seen The Godfather Part 2 like me, we're too fucking late, okay? But yeah, man, just the whole way this episode goes is just a masterclass in storytelling. It's a masterclass in how to create a character study and how to expand on a character without taking away from your main character of your show in a way that isn't conducive or productive to the show, but adds so much layers to the character and to the main threat that Oz is going against as the protagonist of his own Scarface, of his own Sopranos story. So I absolutely love it. And the whole Breaking Bad of the descent and the madness and the One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest vibe with this, it's just fucking Emmy level stuff. CHRISTIN Miliotti better get a motherfucking Emmy nomination for this, man. Y'all better jump into those comment section and let me know what you thought about this episode. Was this your favorite episode of the season? For me, I think it was. As weird as it is to say in a Penguin show, the Sofia Falcone episode was my favorite. It's everything I really like about TV and all that stuff, and just playing into the mob element with the kind of psychological thriller element of it to me, which is awesome. Y'all know I'm a horror thriller junkie, so getting to see that whole thing play out in here, and Arkham really being a character is so awesome for me. That's one of my favorite elements of the DC Batman, lore. So I love it. I love this episode. It's a 10 out of 10 for me. But y'all let me know what you thought about it down below, where this ranks in your favorite episode so far of the first half of the season. And like I said, we're going to try to get back on schedule. I should be able to. So by this Sunday night or early Monday morning, you should get that episode 5 review and recap for the 5th episode of The Penguin. And we got Agatha All Along going into the spooky season vibe of the channel as well for this month. We're going to be dropping that review on Thursday. And I also got What's the Word coming out, where we talk about all the pop culture topics and things that drop throughout the week. And I think I'm going to have a trailer reaction for y'all shortly around the time this goes up on the channel as well, for the Stephen King adaptation of The Monkey starring Tatiana Maslany. Less said about She-Hulk, the better. Let's just see what that trailer gets us into. But until then, make sure you stay safe out there. Stay tuned. Don't sleep on the dopeness we got going on here on the channel. And I'm going to catch y'all on the next one. And yeah, so peace.